touring around and doing really awesome speeches, and you have a famous YouTube channel. And now he started his own real estate company, so I'll let him talk to you guys about that, but can we welcome Brendan to class?
Thanks, Mackenzie. All right, so before I start, I just want to get a feel for you guys. Like, why did you guys take this class to begin with, and how has this class sort of played up to your expectations about what you were hoping to learn? Anyone can answer. This is a free for all. No one?
I don't know.
Go for it.
My name's Audrey Zhao. I'm a freshman.
Okay.
And I took this class because I'm really interested in business. Although I'm an engineering major,
Okay.
I kind of want to build something in the future as well. So I just want to learn more stories about people who founded their startups.
Okay. Cool. And actually, has this sort of lived up to what you're sort of looking to learn?
Yeah.
Is it helping?
For the previous speakers, we kind of talk about how they found idea for their startup and how they work towards their goals.
Okay, cool. Anyone else? Go for it.
This kind of serves as a motivation for me because classes are hard, and at times I think about oh, maybe I should just work for a corporation or something.
Okay.
Well, of course, it's something I learn from every speaker, but
Sure.
the bigger part is motivation.
Motivation in what sense?
Motivation that it's possible and
Okay.
I should do it.
Okay, cool. Anyone else? Things you're hoping to get from out of this class, and you feel like you're actually headed that direction.
It kind of, it's not stuff that you learn from classes at school, it's kind of just real world examples that makes it real.
Okay. Raise your hand if you feel like you are the kind of person that is you're always thinking about business ideas and you feel like you are a natural born entrepreneur. Raise your hand. And then, so everyone else, I'm guessing you feel like I'm figuring this out, I have no idea what this is. Is that true? Yes? Okay. That's interesting because that's half of you. So to the people who feel like they're natural born entrepreneurs, they're always thinking about business ideas and cooking things up, how helpful has this class been, and what do you feel is missing, or has been missing?
I just think it's been helpful in the sense of just hearing about people's experiences, how they brought their business, their concept to fruition.
Okay.
And also to kind of hear their successes and failures.
Okay.
And fundamentally, I guess it just goes back to what somebody said in the back there, that outside of the other classes that you're taking, you sit here and you listen for an hour, and it kind of actually helps to sort of motivate you in a certain direction if you are talking about business.
Okay. Cool. Anyone else? Okay, for the people that do not feel they are natural born entrepreneurs and they're just what is this business world? What is the biggest gap in your mind keeping you from launching your own business thing? Or you feeling confident enough to launch off to do something like that?
I think one of the things for me is, there's a certain level of fear in being an entrepreneur and starting your own business and trying to create something. So hearing other people's stories and the success and failures also, and how they overcame the failures, kind of diminishes that fear a little bit.
Okay.
Gives it a little bit of hope, lets you know it can be done.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think for me it's startup ideas, or where I was kind of I had this one track mindset of I'm going to do this to get to here, A, B, C, D, and so on. And this has kind of made me think about other things that I could be doing.
Okay.
And it's also given me I guess hope and motivation, like he was saying, because you can do it, and it's not something that's only for certain type of people. If you're a go-getter and you have determination, you have a passion for something, then you can go and do it, and anyone can do it, and it's not just for the chosen few that are smart enough.
Sure.
So I think that, like he was saying too, it's taken away some fear, I guess, in that aspect.
What are some concrete skills that you feel like you're missing, if you are comfortable sharing?
Well, before this class, I thought it was maybe a lack of intelligence towards business stuff, because I'm not a business major or anything like that. And then after I learned from these the speakers that have come, it's you know, you don't have to have a business degree, you can like be anyone
Yes.
with a good idea.
Yeah. Did you have concrete skills that you feel like you were missing, or you are missing that would keep you from?
I mean, not that I can think of.
Okay.
I haven't gotten that far,
Alright.
I'd say.
So,
Some children are.
okay. Cool. So, how many of you guys are actually working on a business idea right now, or are preparing to launch, or have already launched?
But it's not very good.
Sort of. Okay. Does anyone want to volunteer or share like, a little bit what they're actually working on? Because I'm actually curious. Yeah.
Okay, so we're actually launching in a month,
Okay.
and we got like funding
Okay.
from part of Y Combinator, and it's also called Genie. And so it's an on-demand tutoring platform. So how Uber, it's like an on-demand taxi, right?
Okay.
This is actually, so if you get like a B+ or better in a specific course or class or subject, you can actually sign up and send in your transcript, and you get to be a registered tutor. So you're going to be a freelancer, being able to tutor other students
nice.
on campus on your own free time.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Very cool.
Sweet.
But I think like one of the most limiting factors is actually like kind of like paradoxically, it's school is the most limiting factor.
Yeah.
And like what school ultimately sets you up for is you're gonna work at a really, pardon my language, like the not enjoyable 9-to-5 job, and it really just restricts you from really chasing your aspirations.
Sure.
And kind of like I agree with your like ambitions to drop out of school, and I think
Sure.
like school really sets you up, and really like it's ultimately like a trap. And so you don't really get like the opportunities in order to like really seek out your ventures, so like you're kind of just stuck here. Well, if you do kind of drop out, you do risk like kind of being able to like.
Sure, I totally get where you're coming from. There's probably a lot of nuances to that. But in general, yeah, I agree with the notion of that. Okay. All right, so the note cards I passed out, it's just for you guys to write questions, because I'll probably be talking, and feel free to write whatever questions. I sort of want to gather them up, even in the last 15 minutes, if there's questions I haven't already answered. But I sort of want to make this interactive, so I threw out 2 narratives about my life on there, and I actually just want to leave it up to you guys. Like, where do you want me to go on this narrative? Which one are you guys most curious about? And then I'll just start there, and then after I wrap up, you guys can pick another one. Are you guys cool with that? All right. So, anyone super excited to listen to one particular thing? Can we try to just deconstruct it and make it a little more relevant for you guys?
Career narrative.
Career narrative. Do you want me to go really specific, or just go run through the whole thing real quick? 10-minute overview.
Yeah, maybe like focusing on like your business and stuff, but
Okay.
whatever is most interesting.
Okay. All right. So, shoot. Personally, for me, okay. So I was a kid in high school that I was really good at sports and not very good at school. So the average student. My mom was a nurse, my dad was an engineer. My older brother went to UCSD and became an engineer. My sister went to UCLA and studied business, econ, and I ended up going to community college at De Anza, which is in South Bay. And so I had no idea what I was doing. Freshman year during community college, I remember feeling super trapped and frustrated because it felt like everyone else knew what they were doing except for me. And I had this whole one decision to make, and I had to live with it for the rest of my life, kind of psychology, and like I am not capable of doing that, making that decision. So it felt really unequipped. So my first year in community college was me taking a bunch of GEs at De Anza to sort of figure it out before I transferred to another school. And then at that point, I mean, in general, I thought I was not good at anything. I was okay at math when I was a kid, and then by the time I hit calc, I'm like, screw this, I'm stuck at this. I hated English. I mentioned right here, English and writing. Got B's and C's in English. I took maybe 1 or 2 APs senior year because I didn't want to work too hard in school because I didn't care about school. Ended up transferring to Simpson University up in Reading, which is 4 hours north from here. My best friend from high school went there, so I just followed him, not because I knew anything that I was doing. And then, so part of the backdrop here is that growing up, I actually used to go to church a lot, and so the idea of helping homeless people was something that was part of my life story, and something that was just on my radar. And so when I went to Simpson, I was working with the local church there as well, working with homeless and sick people, and basically at that time, my choice was doing something meaningful or sit in front of a classroom for like another 4 years studying psychology and wait until I get my postgrad before I do anything with my life, because I didn't know of any option in terms of careers out after psychology unless you finish postgrad. So my choice was, at the time, after working with all these homeless people, I realized, holy crap, I feel like I'm doing something meaningful. I feel like I'm making a difference in someone's life. And it wasn't that grandiose or anything, but for me, the difference between waking up engaged and waking up dreading something is like night and day. Like, why would I want to dedicate 4 more years of not wanting to go to school or just trying to get by when there's something in front of me where I feel like makes me come alive, makes me feel excited? Like, I'd rather do that. And so I committed cultural suicide by dropping out. Because I grew up in San Jose, California. The high school that I went to was 70% Asian. My parents, almost all my friends went to UCLA or UC Berkeley. And so for an Asian person to drop out of school is like, you don't do that. And so I basically signed up for a 2-week argument with my parents. And I basically gave them an ultimatum saying, you know what, Mom, Dad, I'm an adult, so let me do this. If it doesn't work out in 6 months, I'll do it your way. Right? And so what happened was I dropped out. I spent the next 3 years working with a couple friends. Literally, the 3 of us, we went out to work with homeless people. We were working with churches, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, whatnot. All we were doing was just caring for people. We would go to parks and hang out with homeless people and feed them and just hang out with them. We would go to soup kitchens, feed people. We would visit ICUs and all this stuff. It was nothing grandiose. This wasn't me dropping out to start some big shot company and make billions of revenue and whatnot. This was very pure passion, and after 3 years of doing that, actually in 3 years of doing that, I made one of the dumbest financial decisions, which was I moved out of my parents' house to do this. When my parents would have housed me and fed me for like 3 years, for me, the psychological cost of that was enough of a no-go, which is every day I knew I was going to go home, my parents would be like, when are you going back to school? I knew that was going to happen if I stayed home. So understanding that, I knew I had to move out. And so in moving out, I ended up taking up a $450 rent payment a month to live with about 5 other people, and I had no predictable income. I had no idea how I was going to pay the rent. And basically because of the work that we were doing and how vocal we were about it, we were blogging about it, we were on Facebook about it, we were on YouTube about it, and people all over the world actually started hearing about what we were doing, and people just started donating to us. We didn't even have a 501c3. People were literally just giving money to us because they knew that we were dedicating our whole lives to just help people. And part of the undertone of our message was, again, because I grew up in church, one of the barriers that I had come up against was this church ideology that I came from was you need to have some kind of training or certification in order to be qualified to help people. Like, to the extent of you need like a master's in divinity just to go help homeless people. And we're like, dude, this is retarded. So the undertone of everything we're doing was like, you don't need training, you don't need approval, you don't need some organization above you saying, oh, we approve and support you in doing this. And so because that was the undertone of our message, there's a lot of people all over the world that are waiting for permission to go do something and help people. And so we essentially gave them that permission, and that's why we got a lot of attention. And so meanwhile, we just shared about our struggles, failures, successes, and whatnot, and that vulnerability component about, like this, like whenever you think about really successful business people, you almost only hear about their successes. You never hear about their struggle phase. You never hear about when they were eating ramen all day, when the company was about to collapse because XYZ happened. You never hear about those stories, or it's very rare. And so that was already early on a really big value for us. So because our desire to be relatable to people, we made it a point to share vulnerably about everything that was happening, whether it was good or bad. And that was the reason why I actually, for 3 years, I lived by people's donations, and it somehow worked. I don't know how it worked, because it wasn't predictable. We never asked for it. And I mean, sure, there were times that I was wondering, okay, do I even have enough gas to get to this meeting? Because I didn't know where it was going to come from. But sure enough, I never missed a rent payment, and I survived. I didn't starve. So after 3 years of that, I basically had to take a step back and think about, okay, how much sustainable change have I brought? Because I told you guys, like what I was doing was not very sustainable. I'm going to ICUs and I'm going hanging out with homeless people at the freaking park, right? This is not, I'm not tackling systemic homelessness, right? I'm not tackling any kind of like medical component of sickness, right? I'm literally just spending time with sick people, right? So after taking a step back after 3 years of that, I basically thought like, this is not sustainable. I'm not doing any systemic change here, right? I feel like I had to learn money. I feel like I had to learn about systems, finance, organization, strategy in order to really tackle, to make a dent in this kind of work in terms of a grand scale. So if I fast forwarded my life, for 50 years, I basically saw myself doing literally the exact same thing. And to me, like that's not sustainable. That's not really tackling the issue. So basically after that realization, I spent one summer reading like 7 or 8 books on business, investing, and finance. And I ended up reading somewhere that 70% of millionaires own real estate. So I just make this really blanket assumption. At this point, I was 21. Make this blanket assumption that, okay, you know, I gotta go real estate because that's where all the money is, right? And so this is a guy that dropped out of school, spent 3 years working with a nonprofit, has no marketing skills, no background in finance, investing, project management, real estate, anything, and I jumped into this. And so what happened was, I jumped into one of those programs that everyone thinks is a scam. You might have heard it on the radio or watched it on TV. I actually jumped into one of those programs with a friend, and yes, they are scammy. It is not entirely a scam in the sense that there is legitimate content, but they sell people on it who should not be sold on it. It would be equivalent of YC saying, oh, anyone can go through a program, anyone can have a successful startup after 6 months, and that is not the case, right? So that's the kind of reputation those education companies have. But because I sort of knew the cost, I had spent the whole summer sort of getting my mind prepared, my psychology prepared for what it would take to be successful in this regard. I was already prepared to go all in on it. I was prepared to work harder than anyone else would. And so basically, for the first, it took me about 5 months to get my first real property under contract, house under contract. And I had everything lined up. I had a lender set up to fund the deal for 30 days. And the day after we were supposed to close on our first deal, we were like, dude, we're gonna make a ton of money. And then the day after we were supposed to close, the guy who was gonna fund the deal texted me and said, sorry, I can't fund this deal anymore. And my business partner and I were like, dude, that is not cool. And basically all our dreams of hopefully coming back to the nonprofit world, making tons of money, bringing back to impact people and whatnot, and all these grand things, all of that pretty much fizzled away because we only had 6 months of runway and we were in month 5, and this guy was supposed to close it on month 6. So it was basically end of the line. But because we had hustled the 5 months before, we had a ton of people, ton of contacts in the industry. We reached out to everyone we knew, and basically we had 2 people who reached out and said they would salvage, like sort of step in to save the deal. I met with the person, one of those guys the next morning, and they ended up taking over the deal, salvaging that deal, and out of pity, this guy offers for me and my business partner, hey, why don't you guys stay on board and learn and manage this project because I feel sorry for you guys. Because it was myself being 22, my business partner being 21, total noobs in this industry, and our mentor had been in real estate for decades, and he's like, I just feel sorry for these guys. And so I took that as an invitation to prove myself. Every single day I was first one in, last one out. And after 6 months of doing that, he ended up sort of just informally becoming my mentor. He started teaching me everything about the industry. I just showed up, executed in every way that he wanted to, did all the grunt work that no one else wanted to do. I remember spending hours like just sitting in front of the computer doing like analysis, and it's just boring stuff. But in my understanding, it was me paying my dues to prove myself worthy of his investment. And basically, he's still my mentor today. The guy who picked me up 3 years ago, he's still my mentor today. I still work with him, and we're pretty much business partners now. And so all while doing this for the last 3.5 years, actually, this is actually the last 2 months. Actually, by the time I had met Mackenzie and now that I'm here, I actually just launched an after-school coaching program with a couple friends, and we're coaching teenagers between the age of 12 to 16, and we're creating an environment where Because when you're in high school, there's only like 10 careers that you're aware of, and like I don't know how to pick from one of these. And so basically, we're just creating a lot of context for high schoolers about what is actually out there, what careers are possible, and we're sort of nurturing their curiosity, because I feel like a lot of parents or I'll speak for myself. My parents were boxing me into 4 careers, the Asian careers, go to be a doctor, be a lawyer, engineer, and that's pretty much it. And so we're trying to nurture these kids' content, these kids' curiosities. So whatever they're passionate about or curious about, have a mild interest in, we're helping them explore on a high level and explore the possibilities of how that can be a career or that can be a business venture. And so we spend one-on-one time with them once a week, and then also in a group setting to sort of get to know each other as students and get to know us as mentors. And I launched that with 2 co-founders, and that would lead me to today. So that was a lot. Feel free to throw a bunch of questions about nitty-gritty about how I navigated these things, or pick something from here. Yeah.
I'm just curious, have you, now that you found a little bit of success in the house flipping, have you gone back to the nonprofit idea, and is that still in your future?
Sure, yes, absolutely. So yeah, I left nonprofit to make money, to learn about business systems, finance, organization, strategy. When I was in nonprofit, I thought that I could give my life to working with homeless and sick people, and I thought it was homeless and sick people that I was passionate about. And I realized it's not so much that. I actually just thrive on being able to impact someone's day for the better, doing something that might seem trivial to me. Where it's like me spending 5 minutes and just shedding some light on something could mean the world to someone. It was actually that interaction that I cared about. And I realized that it's not only in profit, but literally every scope of life, every walk of life, every kind of person has some kind of challenge in their life where they just need a little bit of a nudge and it would mean the world to them. And one of the most concrete stories that happened was I was traveling one time and I met this lady. Her husband had just passed away and left a $1 million jet ski business to her. And all she had been for a long time was just a stay-at-home mom. And so my whole context at this point was I'm just working with homeless people because this is what I care about. And then here I'm faced with this lady who has 2 kids and inheriting $1 million business, and she has no freaking clue what to do. And so here I am sitting in front of her, completely inequipped to solve her problem, totally inequipped to help her in a meaningful way. And I was like, I am missing so many things that are important to different walks of life, and it made me want. One of the worst feelings in the world is being in a place of compassion but not being able to do anything. And so that was what sort of drove me in. So to answer your question, nonprofit is, yes, something I still care about, but I'm realizing now there's so many other subjects that are so important to many people that I just learn a bunch of things and want to help people with this, right? So this interaction here, this is a manifestation of that, where that's why I asked specifically, how many of you feel like you're not the natural born entrepreneur? Because that was me, right? And so if I can help you in a meaningful way, that's this mindset that I've learned. And so do I get involved in nonprofit work? Yes. Will I go, is this my sole focus? No. But yes, I do still care about it. Yeah.
Could you elaborate on how you became a prolific writer?
Okay. So before I go into that, does anyone want to have any more questions about my overall career narrative? Yeah.
Mackenzie said you were like YouTube famous.
Semi-YouTube famous. My YouTube channel has 10,000 subscribers and about 5-something million YouTube views. And at the time, we were just documenting a lot of the work that we were doing. I was editing videos. I was editing sermons from 60-minute chunks into 15-minute chunks. And because the world that we were a part of, we came out of a church background. So I was editing a lot of messages, and I was pumping them out once every 3 to 4 days. And so I was doing that for about 6 months, and that built up a massive traction. And we funneled all those views and subscribers into the work that we were doing. So that was what contributed to the fact that I actually could have enough attention so that people cared enough to give money to us. But other than that, I don't know how we could have made it. But yeah. Anyone else?
How'd you get the idea to do that?
Pure passion. Pure passion. I was 17, between junior and senior year of high school, I came across these messages, and I'm like, these messages are changing my life. I have to share it with someone. I illegally downloaded Sony Vegas and started editing these videos from an hour to 15 minutes, basically self-taught, and just splicing a bunch of videos. Started throwing up my YouTube channel, and then realized, holy crap, people love my videos. And then so I just kept doing it, and that's how it came out. So for me, it was a problem that was resolved for me, and I wanted to share the answer to people. And so that's what it sparked out. Yeah.
For the after-school program, why do you pick kids from 12 to 16 versus high schoolers who seem like they're in a more urgent position to know what career path they want to choose?
Because the goal is not to give them specific tactics in order to pick a career. The goal is to help foster them as people and help them learn to think as independent individuals. And you cannot rush learning to think for yourself. And so that's why we wanted to scale back to 12 to 16 as opposed to, say, pure high school 14 to 18. And because by the time you're 17 or 18, you're already faced with the decision of what college am I going to do, what decision do I need to make right now, right? And we're not trying to target people who need to make the decision right now. We want to create some leeway so that we can sort of help them explore things. Because by the time they apply to colleges, then they'll have something concrete that they know that interests them and that they can already explore. So that's part of it. It's multifaceted because in our pitch to parents, we still have to create this angle of, yes, we're going to help them look better on their resume to some extent, right? And if we're working 17 to 18-year-olds, we can't have that concrete deliverable in that short amount of time. It's just hard. So that's deeply understanding your audience. So just side comment, the people that we're selling in this school program, we are not selling to students. We're selling to the parents because the parents are the one paying for the students. So understand your market, understand who you're selling to. Yeah.
Have you ever regretted dropping out?
No. No. So no, because I already knew in high school I hated school, so I knew that, or at least from what I understood, college was going to be a reiteration of the last 4 years. And so to sign up for something I already hated is like, just, why am I doing that? So to be fair, I mean, just from this story, like I didn't drop out simply because I knew what I didn't want. You have to drop out for something that you do know you want, right? And I think that's a mistake that some people make. They feel like dropping out is because like, I hate school, I should just drop out. Well, if you don't have anything that you're dropping out for, then you're sort of missing the point. Or like, it's not going to be, that energy is not going to be funneled into anything interesting or productive. So, yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
So basically, all your skills are self-taught. But
Yes.
if you were to
A lot of them.
go back to school and
Yeah.
take a major to improve upon yourself, what would it be?
Okay. I would not do that. So you have to understand, like, the way, if you want to accelerate learning, if you're just trying to think from like an efficiency standpoint, if you want to learn quickly, it's all about optimizing for feedback, right? The faster you know that you missed something, or the faster you know that you got something wrong, or the faster something that you just missed this slight nuance, the faster you can make adjustments to learn that subject better. That being said, university environments are not conducive to that. Right? You're reading a freaking book, and then you show up the next day, and then if you have the balls to say, hey, professor, I have this question, and if you don't have the balls to even do that, then you're not going to get the feedback on where you misunderstood subject. And then you have basically what, your time between tests, between knowing whether you're right or wrong. Right? So how can you accelerate the feedback window? And the easiest way to do that, mentors. I've learned about real estate faster than the vast majority of people who have been in my industry for the same amount of time that I have, simply because I'm working under a guy who's been doing this for decades, and I'm day in and day out with him every single day, so I ask him questions. Hey, what about this idea? And then my mentor was like, oh, you should do it like this because X, Y, Z, or you shouldn't do it like this because X, Y, Z. I'm like, oh, shoot, that's awesome. So, like I told you, like I joined this real estate program that